Hello everyone, Beacon here, back again, here to do a little nightly rant on whatever thoughts are swirling in my head, usually dev, AI agent related, which today is going to be that again. Because I've been thinking about this. I've been thinking about like essentially who to work with, who to hire, because right now I am overwhelmed. I got too much stuff to do, too much stuff to code, too much stuff to research. I got a lot of friends who feel like they're in the same position, and we're all trying to figure out how to coordinate with each other, work together, find more hours in the day, sleep less, you know, all those fun things. And it's really not about just, you know, finding a million people to join your cause. It's about finding a certain type of archetype of person. And like, I'm trying to figure out what I call that person. What do I define them as? And I guess the first crack at it, I'm going to say, is the explorer dev, right? Someone who can blaze new territory, you know, your Lewis and Clark type dev. I think this is as opposed to someone who is a enforce best practices dev. There's lots of devs that come in and they're really good at saying, hey guys, let's make this thing unified. Here's the best practice. Here's the rules. I'm going to document everything. It's going to be boring. And like, hey guys, let's just focus on solid, stable technology. Let's do MySQL, PHP. Let's stick with the LAMP. And I'm going to say, hey guys, AWS just came with DSQL. Let's deploy it the day it comes out, which is true what I did. It's a different style. Now, if you're a person who wants to be a blaze on the edge, you have different sorts of problems. You have different pain to deal with, right? So explorer dev pain. I kind of look at it in a couple different ways. There's one, it's like documentation, right? There might be none. So you have to learn to read, you know, all other info. So I will find myself on GitHub issues. You'll find yourself in, you know, Discord channels, you know, Hacker News comments, who knows? Maybe you're even on, God forbid, Reddit. I don't know, potentially, you know, Twitter comments. All these different places, you never know where they have. You're also going to have to read source code. That's kind of bigger here, okay? Read the source. This is why this is good when things are open source in general, right? It needs to be open source. Because you're going to be figuring out all this stuff yourself. That's just how this world works. The path's not going to be laid out for you, so that means that if I've got to lay out my own path, that means I'm going to have to be reading the source. This is not like the same level of ease across the board, right? Some code is very easy to write. Other code is very hard to write, right? Like some code is so abstract, it could take, you know, literally weeks and weeks to understand it. Maybe not. Well, it depends on how much code we're talking about, right? How long it takes to understand code is always going to be a function of the amount of code, the complexity, things like that. But it could take weeks and weeks if something is super, super abstract. And other code, it's not going to be as much here. So the thing is I think there's two sides, right? We want to be able to develop explorer skills. That's kind of one thing. Because if I'm a new dev and I want to get into this AI stuff, then I want to be an explorer. I don't want to follow the set paths because there are no set paths. We're making everything up all day, every day. So how do I develop these explorer skills? Well, I think one is you want to hop on things quickly, right? Hop on hot new tech quickly. Be the first one to document. Be the first one to make a YouTube video. You know, contribute to pull requests. All these things you really see the difference when you're the very, very, very first one to blaze the path versus anytime someone's already laid it down and you're like, there's always still more stuff to figure out. I would say, I think a lot of people, they get like discouraged quickly though if they do see someone has already blazed a path. But if you look at it and it doesn't work for you, let's say someone put a blog article about using a brand new, you know, framework, and you read it and it didn't help you. Then that means there's paths to be blazed. There's stuff for you to actually put out there. We all have our different ways of thinking and explaining and breaking stuff down. And I find myself often reading, you know, I might read 2-3 blog posts about one particular subject just to see how different people think and talk about it. And then mine will end up being usually some combination of them, you know. Some people do have a similar way of teaching that I have to learning. And so it's easier to go to them. But I mean, this is just how it is. Like, I think people they think that every concept should be teachable in one chunk when it takes a lot of time and a lot of the same lesson over and over again. So first, hop on new tech quickly. You got to make sure you're finding new libraries, you're diving in, use them right away. Do not wait. Another thing I think you really got to be doing if you're trying to like get out there and explore is, it's not just about new, it's you got to take something, you got to push it somewhere different. You got to push it deeper, you know what I mean? So push a concept deeper. So like, use something until it doesn't scale, right? I often think it's funny. For a while there, I was building a database. Sorry, I wasn't building a database. I was using a single JSON file as my database. I can't even remember what I can't remember what it was called. I think I was doing it in Go. I can't remember what it was. It was just I just had a mutex. It was a single JSON file, mutex around a single JSON file. It worked great, honestly. It literally wasn't that bad. People were like, "You can't do that. You just gotta be slow." And it's like, really, let's see how far we can actually go. If reading and writing is fast, I got this mutex. I'm not worried about people, overwriting stuff. And like, how long will it happen if I really start hammering the system? Now, this was just something that I was running on my own. I was doing lots of stuff, but it was still just one user, so that definitely impacts it. But like, take that and push it to the absolute limit, right? And you can see this. It's not just about, like, I guess, database stuff, but any part of the tech. Take it and just say, let me try and push it to the end limit. Let me see how far I can take this, how deep I can go. I was messing with some HTMX, and you can have it automatically refresh. And so I'm like, okay, great. So you can get to 60 frames per second, right? And so then I try and get it to refresh at 60 frames per second, and I start finding out, okay, there are some downsides. But then I found out actually someone else was working on building a game in it. They were apparently getting it to do, I don't know, pretty reasonable frames per second. So someone already was. Me fucking with it led me to find someone else who was fucking with it and took it even deeper, and boom, you're like, whatever, you're learning to use tools in a more powerful way, because we got to get advantages, right? It's like we all need advantages. We need advantages, and you gotta find your own, build your own, forge your own. And a lot of times that can be using some tech in some novel way, right? Using tech in a novel way. So I think that's, two general ways, right? Take a piece of existing tech and just try and push it to the end limit, or look around. Someone says, hey, here's something brand new. Okay, let me get in there and let me try it out. These are like muscles, though, right? Like, being an explorer, requires upkeep. You will see people who don't, like, go around the different ecosystems. Like, I've worked in one language for a long time. I've said, okay, I'm just doing Python. I've done Python for 2 years straight. I'm working on it. I'm doing my home projects, and it's Python. And then I go to another ecosystem, and I'm so used to Python, it's just like, oh, my brain is just calcified around these Pythonic concepts. Versus, I've gone through periods where I'm really hopping through languages. I mean, I've had it where I'm at jobs, and I'm doing 4 different languages, and it's just like, oh my God, that's just life. I don't always necessarily like that, but I've had it where I'm doing Go, Python, Kotlin, Groovy, Bash, Terraform. That would be a standard day, as I might touch all of those things in one day, and they'll try and make me look at TypeScript, and I refuse to look at it. That's right. Draw the line. Okay, but moving my brain between all those languages, it is easier to, like, I don't know, solve generic problems or figure out generic things that are happening quickly. You do so many different languages. When you see a new one, it's not as crazy, right? The more language you learn speaking-wise, the easier it is to learn a new one. Same thing with programming languages. Now, I'm not as deep or proficient in all those languages. I know nothing of Kotlin. I suck at Kotlin. Groovy is the world's worst language in the entire world, and every time I write it, I immediately want to forget everything I just learned about it. I want to get it out of my brain. But you know what I mean? Moving around those places does help you attune you to, well, what are the quirks in languages? What are the things you explore first? So, like, you need regular check out new stuff time. I've always encouraged people to have, like, a cadence, right? Like a once a week, put together, a regular cadence of how often, every type wrong, of how often to try new things. I think once a week is great. I think a nice Sunday is beautiful. That's just kind of me. That's kind of one of my things I like to do here. I guess another thing is that whenever you are doing something new, you always want to give up. That's another part of this is you say, okay, great, I tried out Groovy. Groovy sucks. I'll never do it again. Let me quit as early as possible. So I do think it's just like going to the gym where you gotta go past failure. You gotta shock the system a little bit to actually make it progress. So once you start feeling like it's really painful, I had some nasty Rust async bugs last night, and my brain was really hurting, and I was like, okay, it officially hurts. That means I'm finally at the wall I have to push through to figure out what's going on. And yes, that was the painful the brain hurt the most. I was reading some code and some sentences like 20 times in a row, like really trying to like get it, and then broke through the wall finally and fixed some bugs instantly. Life was so good. But you know what I mean? You have to look for the resistance, and that's going to be most people, they say, oh, resistance, oh, I got what I needed to do, let me go away. Where it's like, no. The whole point is you have to burst through the other side. That is the only, like, it's the coding starts, the learning starts, the exploring starts right there. It's like the idea of being a person who's, I'm gonna, blaze some new paths outdoors, and you're on a pathway and you say, look, we've just found a new wall up a mountain, and then you go, now we turn around. It's like you didn't explore anything new. You got to the exploration and you turned around. It is painful though, right? These things do hurt. They hurt the brain. They should hurt the brain. This is just random advice for other people, like that just loops into all this though. Like your brain should hurt every day. It's like if your body hurts every day from a workout, your brain should hurt. Like, so if it's not hurting, you're probably not doing something. But that might be a top for another day. Really what I just wanted to rant on, I guess, is this explorer dev mindset. And I don't know what I think it takes to get there. I myself, I need to keep doing this, keep pushing, keep an open mind, keep calm, take good notes. Because this is all I'm going to be doing for the next, 50 years of my life, hopefully longer. Okay, I'm going to go on that Brian Johnson tip, get in my sleep chamber and live for another 300 years. And that means I need to be learning all the new languages then, because by then we'll have, floating screen monitors, Neuralink tapped in, and whatever. That's all. I'll be back tomorrow. We'll talk about more random things. I don't know. Nightly rants, AI, all that. Subscribe. Thank you.